The Justice League storms the White House as Batman and Wonder Woman take on the Secret Service, clearing Superman's path to the Oval Office. Inside the Oval Office, President Lex Luthor frantically gathers up papers. Superman busts in, saying he's taking Luthor in for crimes committed in office. Half mad while still going through papers, Luthor rants that he's not to blame. Luthor prepares to press a button that will start a nuclear war, saying they will burn for their mistake. But then he points out that Superman can't stop him without deadly force. Superman hesitates, and Luthor mocks him. Alas, this proves to be Luthor's final error. Clearly affected by his arch-enemy's accusations, Superman decides that if being a hero has led to this endless cycle, he's done with it. He glares at Luthor, eyes glowing red with superpowered lasers. And outside the Oval Office, Batman takes down a gang of soldiers and Wonder Woman helps him get back up. Just then, a strange smell reaches Batman and Wonder Woman's noses. They rush in and stop dead in their tracks to see that Superman has burned Luthor to death. Wonder Woman is shocked, while Batman coldly proclaims that it had to be done. Wonder Woman asks Superman if he's all right. Turning around, Superman reveals an unnerving smile on his face and says, "He is great. I can tell you guys something feels off." 2 years later, Earth has become a very different world. Superman and his 5 remaining teammates are now the lords of the planet. Their soldiers are monitoring events from their new, heavily armed watchtower as they have taken over governments and subverted freedom of speech, all in the name of the people's safety. After denying the current U.S. president permission to hold an election to choose his successor, they learn about a small protest taking place at the Smallville University. Hawkgirl and Green Lantern are sent to disperse a protest in Smallville. Batman has retreated to the Batcave, claiming to be busy with a project. The students are enraged with the shutdown of human rights, and they clash head-on with the armed forces. The mere appearance of Green Lantern and Hawkgirl causes the protesters to disperse out of fear, and the army arrests the leaders of the protest at the end. Hawkgirl is wondering why they need to go to such lengths when the world has already become a much safer place. Lantern says that they have to remain vigilant, and he's at ease with their actions because the dangerous world needed their leadership. While Superman dines awkwardly with Lois Lane, she too voices her misgivings about the Lord's fascist regime. Superman tells her that she's missing the bigger picture, but their conversation is interrupted by Batman, who calls an urgent Justice Lords meeting. As Superman leaves, Lois tries to follow him out of the apartment, only to be stopped by guards at her door. She berates the soldiers out of frustration. In the Batcave, Batman shows the other Justice Lords an image of the Justice League battling Lex Luthor. What they are seeing, Batman explains, is a real-time event from an alternate reality. In this reality, the Flash is still alive, and the League is still playing a passive, law-enforcing role. Deciding that the alternate world needs their brand of law and order as much as their own did, the Justice Lords decided to intervene. In the primary universe, the Justice League continues to battle Luthor, and as Flash gets stuck under a pillar, Superman helps him up. However, at the end, Justice League is able to defeat him and disassemble a weapon he had been preparing. Shortly thereafter, the Lord's Martian Manhunter emerges from an inter-reality portal, saying he has been sent from an alternate reality by an embattled League that needs the primary League's help. Although the League, especially Batman, has some doubts, they decide to trust Justice Lord John. Once the League has emerged into the alternate universe, they are quickly incapacitated by a trap. Hawkgirl, however, refuses to go down without a fight, thanks to her spirited charisma, eventually gets badly injured when Lord Lantern has to knock her out. Soon after taking the League as prisoners, the Lords, with the exception of Batman, then cross over to the primary universe, planning to impose order on the new world. It seems that the Justice Lords arrive just in time. The rogue behemoth Doomsday is on the loose. The Lords each attack, but none is a match for the creature except Superman. The fight drags on for hours, and when it becomes clear that they are outmatched in strength and endurance, Superman ends the fight by lobotomizing Doomsday with his heat vision. The primary version of Lois Lane is shocked by Superman's brutality, but others in the crowd cheer, saying, "It's about time." The heroes took a more aggressive approach. Watching this from prison, Luthor alone realizes that these aren't the true Justice League at all. Guess your enemy knows you best. Back in the Lord's reality, Justice Lord Batman acts as jailer to the rest of the League. Justice Lord Batman only retorts that such a thing could just as easily have happened to them if they were pushed far enough. Lord Batman tells them not to bother with trying to escape because he's already thought of everything their Batman would have. Flash is confused with all these extreme actions, and he just despises the Lord Batman. The Lords are adding defense systems to the primary world's watchtower to make it almost invincible. Lord Batman is at his station, monitoring the imprisoned Leaguers, and just then, Flash's heart rate becomes erratic, and then stops altogether. Afraid that another Flash has just died on his watch, Justice Lord Batman rushes to the cell and opens it to see what's going on. As soon as Justice Lord Batman unshackles Flash's arm, the fastest man alive clobbers him with a flurry of super-speed punches, knocking his warden across the room. Flash escapes, shackles the Justice Lord in his place, and emerges from his cell to free the others. The duo release all other League members and Superman is pissed off, ready to punch some Lords in the face, but they have other matters to attend to as Batman heads to his counterpart's Batcave to activate the inter-reality portal, while the rest of the League heads off to find Hawkgirl. The League checks for various hospitals and soon figures out where they are keeping her, the Arkham Asylum, the only hospital equipped to hold metahuman patients. The League wants Flash to stay outside since he is dead in this reality. The Flash is not very pleased as he picks a rose from the bushes, but the asylum is a far different place than the one from their reality. A very calm and polite Joker is the superintendent. Pretending to be the Lords, the League asks to be taken to Hawkgirl. The staff are all former criminals, particularly from Batman's Rogues Gallery, all of whom are placid, docile zombies thanks to Lord Superman's lobotomy capabilities. Joker requests a password, which Johns gives by reading Joker's mind. Joker says they got it right, but apologetically triggers the alarm, because Wonder Woman was supposed to say it. Robotic versions of Justice Lord Superman steps out from a holding cell and attack the League. Now, who expects this from an asylum, right? As Batman gets near the portal device at the Batcave, he is confronted by his counterpart, who escaped from Flash's cell and has anticipated all his moves. Concealed in the shadows, the two stalk each other through the cave, all the while debating the ethics of what the Lords have done.
And with that power, we've made a world where no 8-year-old boy will ever lose his parents because of some punk with a gun.
Finally, Batman of the Justice League drops his batarang, steps into the light, and surrenders. Never in 1,000 worlds I dreamed of anything like this. Batman and his counterpart ride together with Batman at the wheel of the Justice Lord's Batmobile, drive through Gotham City towards Arkham. Batman is surprised to see Gotham without litter. When they stop at a red light, they see a restaurant, where a customer is arguing with the manager about refusing to pay for the poor quality of his meal, and in short order is arrested by the police for disturbing the peace. Seeing Justice Lord Batman looking at them, the staff and the other patrons hurriedly and nervously look away to their own business. Batman needles his counterpart, wondering what Mom and Dad would think.
They'd love it here, don't you think? Who? Mom and Dad. They'd be so proud of you.
Meanwhile, at the Arkham Asylum, the robot Superman soldiers are taking the fight to the Justice League. At first, Superman finds it a bit hard to deal with their blows, but soon, the Justice League finds their feet and pounds the robots to pieces. Green Lantern busts through the doors and finds Hawkgirl under treatment on a bed. Lantern gets emotional and carries her out in his arms, but they are being held outside by the armed forces. The commander orders them to back down. But just then, the Lord Batman comes flying in to claim the League as his prisoners, and he even threatens the commander to back off. Now that's a Lord I can follow to the end of the world. Somehow Justice Lord Batman has now had a change of heart and tells the League to come with him to escape from the back. Superman still cannot believe he is the Lord Batman. As the League prepares to return to their reality to confront the Lords, Batman wonders openly what they will have to do. Superman isn't willing to cross the line, but Batman says that some kind of line will have to be crossed if they mean to succeed. In the primary reality, the Lords have occupied the League's watchtower when they receive an alert of a prison breakout. Luthor has escaped once again. The Lords fly to the prison, and they break Luthor's prison cell walls to confront him. As the Lords enter the holding cell, Luthor turns into John Johns, revealing a trap set by the League, mirroring the Justice Lords' own trap that captured the League. Lord Shiera tries to break out using her mace and somehow succeeds as Green Lantern hesitates to shoot her. But soon, she falls down after hitting a wall, and a huge battle between the League and the Lords take place. In the fight that follows, each League member fights his or her counterpart, and neither side is able to gain the upper hand. The Lanterns are delivering huge blows to each other, and the Wonder Women are no exception. Batman tries to take down the Lord Diana, but gets a good beating only to be saved by Wonder Woman and her quick thinking. The exception is Lord Superman, whose own counterpart is mysteriously absent and who ends up fighting Flash. Flash takes the Lord for a ride with his fast-evading skills, and he attempts to appeal to the good in Lord Superman by reminding him of his friendship with Lord Flash, but fails. Lord Superman prepares to kill Flash, but then Superman arrives with Luthor, who has rebuilt the weapon from his earlier fight with the League. Luthor fires the weapon at each of the Lords, draining them of their powers. He is tempted to turn the weapon on Superman, but then hands it over as a deal's a deal. It is revealed that Superman secured a presidential pardon for Luthor in exchange for his help in defeating the Lords, who are then taken away. Lord Superman rages that everything Luthor does from now on will be on Superman's head. Superman agrees that it's a high price, but declares that it's one of the many hard choices he's had to make. Later, Luthor holds a press conference to answer questions about his new freedom. He says that the business world doesn't seem as challenging as it used to be, but he has been giving some thought to politics. Out at Star Labs, Jimmy and Lois are being shown a machine built by Professor Hamilton that is based on the Phantom Zone projector. It's supposed to provide a window into other dimensions, but it doesn't seem to work. However, when Lois looks between the machine's two posts, she notices the glass between them looks cracked, while anything around the posts is whole. As she looks over it, however, she gets too close and is pulled into the alternate dimension. Lois ends up in a decrepit and destroyed Star Labs and heads off to the city of Metropolis. The streets seem to be deserted, however, and Lois discovers a large statue of Superman and Lex Luthor's heads, declaring them the men who saved Metropolis. Lois is then confronted by Turpin, who demands to see her curfew card. When he finds she doesn't have one, he attempts to arrest her. But a group of shaggy men break into a building and start firing on him. Turpin tries to take down the men, but they fire him back and he runs out into the streets. Amongst these men is Jimmy, who runs into Lois. Before he can say anything, however, Superman arrives and violently stops the gang. Jimmy drags Lois away before they're noticed. Superman is hardly recognizable now. Jimmy leads Lois away and explains to her that she's supposed to be dead, while she was working on an intergang piece and they attempted to kill her with a car bomb. Jimmy, however, claims that Superman was actually too late and became brutal and turned the city into a police state. The duo arrives in a building filled with more downtrodden people, and Jimmy reveals that his mission was to steal a rock of kryptonite. Unfortunately, a group of soldiers led by Mercy arrives and takes the people into custody. Lois is taken to Luthor, who expresses some surprise at her being alive, yet he finds that he cannot deny it. Deciding that she's too dangerous to be kept around, he tells Mercy to kill her. Fortunately, Mercy and Lois run into Angela Chen, who distracts Mercy long enough to allow Lois to take Mercy's gun and escape. Lois runs through the city and climbs up a large Superman and Luthor monument and fights off a group of police helicopters. In spite of this victory, she is injured, and Superman soon arrives. However, when he sees his target is Lois, his demeanor instantly changes. He saves her from falling when she faints and takes her somewhere safe. All of this is witnessed by Mercy, who reports to Luthor. Elsewhere, Lois explains about her origins, and Superman explains that his Lois Lane's death shocked him into realizing that his heroics were futile. He decided that he needed to take control to stop all crime. Lois wonders why he would go so crazy just over her, and Superman admits that he was in love with her. Lois slaps him and is angered not only at hiding his feelings for her, but for joining up with Luthor as well. Lois Lane reveals that Luthor tried killing her, which makes Superman furious. She then takes him to a holding cell where all the innocent civilians are kept, and they shout at Superman out of frustration. Jimmy even throws a brick at him. Superman goes to the LexCorp and takes down all the soldiers who stand in front of him, and Lois Lane follows him soon after. Luthor sees the enraged Superman coming for him through the cameras but stays put in his office. Faced with certain death, Luthor starts his fast talking and then reveals he now has the chunk of kryptonite Jimmy had stolen. Superman is weakened, and he soon falls on his knees, affected by the kryptonite. Lois tries to save Superman, but Mercy stops her. As the two women fight, Luthor tells Superman that he'll smooth-talk the people of Metropolis and become their savior. Just as he says this, the rebels arrive and reveal they know Luthor's true intent. Luthor runs and Mercy tries to follow but is tripped by Lois, and the crowd advances on her. Luthor manages to escape in a flying vehicle, but Superman goes after him. All of Luthor's attempts to shake his enemy off the vehicle come to naught, but when Superman gets too close to catch him, Luthor uses his kryptonite to force him away. Unfortunately for Luthor, Superman damages the vehicle enough to cause it to go out of control. Luthor is unable to eject and crashes into the side of the monument bearing his own face, killing him and marring the statue in his likeness. With Luthor gone and Superman in check once again, he and Lois go to Star Labs and discuss the rebuilding of Metropolis and Superman regaining the public's trust in due time. However, a portal opens and our world's Superman comes through, calling Lois back home. The alternate Superman swears that even though he's losing Lois again, it won't change things for the city. Lois kisses the alternate Superman and then returns home. Back at home, she decides to never let her own Metropolis suffer the same fate as the Alternator One and invites Superman to dinner. Thank you for watching Second Look. Like, comment, share, and subscribe for more awesome videos. Have a nice day.